to Tell, the podcast where my friends and I come together to shoot the shit and share stories of triumph and failure. I'm your host, Karl Veal, and I'm excited to share some of my experiences and eager to learn some of yours. This is a no judgment zone because after all, we all have a story to tell. Mike Miller is one of the best friends I have ever had. We lost touch over the years. Many things contributed to this, but drugs was number one. On this episode, we are going to learn that drugs can affect anyone and take control of anyone's life, but there is always a chance to bounce back. This is Mike Miller's story.
Hey, man.
Hey, Mike. Mike Miller. How you doing?
Super. Karl Veal.
Welcome to Live to Tell, guy. All right, so I just want to stress that I want you to feel like super comfortable, relaxed, and this show specifically is going to be about helping people who were in like your previous situation and like tips to help them get them out of that situation, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's start with you growing up. Like, how was that? Where did you grow up and all of that jazz?
Let's see. I was born in Huron, South Dakota. I ended up moving, I think, when I was 5 to Iowa, North Iowa. I bounced around between Forest City, Mason City, North Springs, and then back to Mason.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. My mom separated from my birth dad. I don't know how old I was, but we moved out of the area when I was 5 to Iowa. She met another guy where I got the Miller name from.
Oh, nice.
And I grew up with him. He was a father figure to me. And then all of a sudden, one day, I think it was between 6th and 7th grade, he told me they were getting a divorce. He was driving me home from a baseball practice. He was my coach and everything, so it kind of crushed me. I just remember him telling me, and 6th grade, I believe, somewhere in between 6th and 7th grade.
So you're like 12?
I was still in. Yeah, I think so. 12. Yeah. Yep. I remember I'm huge into sports. I still am, but at the time it crushed me so much. I got out of the car, I took my glove, I threw it in the yard, and never picked it up again. And I was a decent baseball player too.
Really?
I mean, not MLB material, but I
could have been.
Suck. Nah. Who knows?
Well, with practice makes perfect.
Yeah, but so after that, Mom kind of she had to find us a new dad thing. I was kind of taking care of my sisters and that stuff, looking out for them until I left for the Air Force.
How old were you when you joined the Air Force?
I was barely 18. I turned 18. April 25th was 98, and July 7th, I started basic training.
And how was that whole experience?
Oh, as a mama's boy,
yeah.
I was holding it together pretty well. And then I remember we got to call home for the first time. And the drill instructor said one thing to me, and I started sobbing.
Like he yelled at you?
A woman. No, he was mocking me for calling my mommy. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, so yeah, the thing about the Air Force basic training is it's more mental than it is physical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, each of the services give each other shit a bit, but so it's about mental preparation. So whether it's bagging on you, dragging you down, or creating a lot of stress for you.
Is that just to like make you like super mentally strong?
Yeah. It yeah, well, as mentally strong as one can be, a lot of it's a facade.
Right. So, okay, so let's go back to your childhood first. Do you feel like you had a great childhood, or do you feel like
if I was going to diagnose myself, no. What I knew at the time and how I grew up, I didn't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I did for the most part.
So is there any like specific situations where you think that your childhood wasn't like a good upbringing?
Um, See, that's a touchy subject for me. I I I love my mother to death. She made some horrible decisions
Hmm.
growing up that led to us kids being alienated. Um, Basically, a different version of a latchkey kid. It was me, you know,
Hmm.
taking care of my two sisters. I mean, I didn't bathe them and that stuff; they were old enough. But looking out for them and stuff. We were on
Yeah,
a farm.
for sure.
Yeah. Uh, she had her own stuff she was dealing with. Could she have been better? Most definitely.
Right.
Um,
That's
I've
everybody.
forgiven her. Yeah. It, I mean, there was there's probably a decent amount of mental or emotional abuse that shaped my self esteem issues and my social awkwardness issues.
Hmm.
Um, at least self perceived awkwardness. Um,
Yeah, I for sure have
because
that too. I don't know if you listened
yeah,
to my first podcast with my sister, but we had like a pretty crazy like upbringing.
yeah.
And it takes years. It takes years to just like find yourself and like figure out like where you're going and who you are, you know.
Yeah, for a bit. So I was on, as far as my social issues, I was for about a 10-year span. I was on and off of Paxil, and then I started doing some cognitive therapy with the VA,
Hmm.
the VA is one of my benefits for my service,
Yes.
um, which is I was they were trying to help me get off of the meds because man, Paxil is crazy. You get on a high enough dose and you start going through that discontinuation syndrome before your next scheduled dose. And I was like, no way,
Oh
this
wow.
is not a good thing to be in me. So I ended up getting off of it, and I ended up it's kind of the same stuff. It's actually the same program you use in recovery programs.
Oh really?
The cognitive therapy for social anxiety and that stuff.
Hmm. So
Yeah,
let's get into how we first met. I think we were like 23 when we met, maybe 24, huh?
yeah. It was fuck. I'm pretty sure we had the coolest friend group in Mason City at the time.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah,
I remember us
so
all going to that Jackass movie, and there was like had to have been like 15 of us, right?
I don't even remember the Jackass movie.
Yeah, we
I mean,
we
I
went as
remember it,
like a
but I don't remember us
group.
going to it.
Yeah, we went as a
Yeah,
group. It was fun.
huh. Yeah, I remember. I got out of the military. I started working IC system. That's how I hooked up with Corey and Josiah,
Uh huh.
and then through them, uh, I met the rest of everybody else.
Yeah,
Uh,
you were
Actually,
dating Gibby, right? When I first met you.
oh yeah, no, that's how I met you with
Yeah.
Gibby. Yeah,
Yes. Because Gibby was friends
oofta.
with Marcy.
Yeah,
Okay, so by the time we had already met, like, were you just like smoking weed, or were you into like heavier
yeah.
drugs?
I was. No, I mean, I was smoking weed. And I was, if it came up at a party
Hmm.
with all of us, if something harder was there, I would do it. But it was nothing that I sought out necessarily.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Do you
Um,
remember like your first time trying anything harder than weed?
Actually, so this is probably a big thing that I left out. My gateway drug was ecstasy. Um, I met a girl when I was in the Air Force, and she introduced it to me, and it was something that was out of your system by the time you had to report for duty.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, that's out of your
So
system
that
for
was
like
my
3 days,
introduction.
right? Or is it two
Probably like
days?
two, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But
So that was
that
your.
was my gateway.
Hmm.
And I did it. I was actually kind of a little bit a part of the rave scene in the Rapid City, South Dakota area at the
Oh,
time
really?
in the in the early 2000s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I had the caffeine pants and stuff, and
Okay,
crazy.
so like we all used to hang out and we all used to like do a bunch of shit. Like we would smoke weed, we would do coke, we've done a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, we would do that stuff, but it wasn't like something that we lived and had to do every single day.
Right.
Um, that changed later for me.
Yeah. Okay, so when did you start to notice that it started to get worse?
Um, To be honest, it got worse when I hooked up with uh my who ended up my baby mama.
With Shyla?
Uh, yeah, Shiloh.
Yeah.
We were. I remember we were over at was it Pat and Derek's place or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and she had stopped hanging out in our friend group, and I knew she was saying all the time I liked her, and I thought she liked me, and I couldn't figure out why she wasn't hanging out, and why I had found out. And we all knew she was, doing shit with Courtney,
Right.
and I was like, fuck, I really like her. I was like, I won't do it. Maybe I just hang out.
Hmm.
And um, I ended up just deciding to try it. And at the time, holy shit, this scared little fucking shell of a man that hid and put up a facade of jokes and confidence to mask my insecurities and stuff.
Hmm.
It took all that away, um, and that's how it gets you. That's how a lot of shit gets you. It's so good at first that it's almost like a wonder drug, but then immediately after that, it goes to shit so fast.
So was that was meth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like what before you even tried it, like what were you thinking about people that did meth?
Oh, it was well known in our friend group that you were a piece of shit if
Hmm.
you did that stuff. That stuff was disgusting. It was dirt.
Right.
Like
So
what a hypocrite I was.
well, I think that's how I mean everyone is the same. Like everyone has like pre thoughts about drugs and people that do drugs and then you
Yeah.
end up trying drugs and then it changes your mind, obviously. So do you think that like your childhood and like the way that you grew up like kind of forced you into that path to try that drug?
No, I don't think it forced me into it. I think the way I grew up and how I developed certain skills
Hmm.
within myself,
Yeah.
or lack of developing them, I think um, possibly set me up to be um, more susceptible to going into that.
Right. So after you did it for the first time and it made you feel really good and you felt like I can do anything and I can be like who I am, like doing that, like did you
Yeah.
start doing it more often, like right away, or was it like a slow process?
It was. I would say it took about a week and a half, and then Shell and I were doing it pretty regularly.
Okay. And did that did that affect your two's relationship, like being on drugs,
Mm,
that drug?
there were some. There's a not as much as it did. The norm with people,
Hmm.
but it did. It created stress. We have some weird blowouts. Um, in that. But I think we hit it hard for about 2 or 3 months, and then sometimes you get sick of it, so you quit for a week, and then
Hmm.
at one point we did that. And we thought she might be pregnant, and we wanted to quit, and then she got tested, and she was pregnant, so um, we did quit.
Right.
Yeah,
So is that where like our friendship group like started to like split off like into people that were doing the
it
harder
started to split
drugs?
off. I think it started to split off. Uh, Actually, I don't want to take credit for this, but I think I'm the reason it split off. I'm the one that started using meth, and um, the friend group didn't care, too much about Charlotte and Courtney splitting off because they weren't in the group that much. They just kind of hung out a
Right,
bit.
because we were always at your
Um,
house, like always, all of us.
yeah, I think three of me, Charlotte, and Courtney going off and doing that. I think, yeah, I think that broke up the group.
Did you even notice because you were like on drugs, or was it like months later that you noticed, like, hey, where's all
I,
my friends?
mm, Honestly, I didn't put that together until this moment when he brought it up, man.
Oh, really?
No, I knew that we started splitting up and that stuff, but
Hmm.
I didn't put that. I actually didn't put those. I, um, I hadn't thought about it that time frame until now. So, do you remember that time I got? remember that some guy that Courtney was dating had learned how to separate that DXM from the medicine
Oh,
and
the
had them in
Robitussin.
capsules. And
Yes.
yeah, remember I took those two of those pills and I ended up locking myself in your bathroom. And I called Shyla and I was crying and I was begging her to come pick me up because I told her I pooped my pants. You guys, she ended up showing up and you guys were trying to get in. You finally got in, and I was crying and she told me she said I had her check. She checked. She said, "You did poop your pants." And then I looked back and pulled my head up and realized I had my head in a pair of your dirty underwear.
I think I do remember that. I do
And I
remember
had to
that.
leave. I had to leave scooting down the stairs on my butt. That's how much it fucked me up. I was like, "Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me." Oh, I didn't want to. Yeah,
No,
no
that's
more of
our
that crap.
no, that's our friend group, dude. Like there were situations like that all the time, don't you think?
Oh yeah, there was. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we
Had
had
a
a lot
lot
of
of
fun.
laughs. Yeah,
We should do a reunion someday.
yeah.
But a
Well,
lot of us don't talk anymore. It's so weird.
well, yeah. Well, and at the same time, I think I want to say 90% of us have found some form of um, responsible place in society.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finally.
No, it's great.
um, September 21st will be my 2 year mark.
Hmm.
I it's I think I've been trying to get off of meth for the last 7 years, and in that time I went to 5 treatments. That's how bad I thought I wanted to get off of it.
That's what I was gonna ask
And
you. Like, what was your first attempt at trying to get off of it?
my first attempt, I took off to South Dakota. Showed up at my dad's front door.
Hmm.
He lived in Sioux Falls at the time, and um, after a few days, he said, "Hey, um, if you're gonna stay here, I need you to call and see about getting into treatment because your mom tells me you've been using hard drugs." And so I called, and this was I can't remember what it's called, but it's out of Canton, South Dakota. It's some kind of like they got it's somewhat native based too, where they got like one of those tents where you basically kill yourself in steam. I
Hmm.
never did it, but I did that because actually they had me call up, and I was like about to hang up, and I looked at him. I was like, they said I'm not bad enough. He goes, wait, did you tell them how you're using? Because by then I had switched to the needle,
Okay.
and so I told them, and then that got me in immediately.
Right.
And I I actually thought I was like, I'm not that bad. I wasn't hurting anybody at the time.
Right.
Um, I didn't start using friends and lying and and I mean I
Just
did
being
some
deceitful.
deceitful. Yeah,
So, okay, so let's back up because you just brought a huge thing up. Like,
yeah.
okay, so
I do that
I
for
didn't know that you
sometimes.
started doing the needle. Like, what was that like, and what was the situation like? You don't have to like name names or anything, but like, what was that
Um,
feeling like?
what was that feeling?
Like doing the needle for the first time.
Actually, it was really scary. I got, I got so put off by myself of doing the act.
Hmm.
I got in. I know, weird. I had a car at the time, but I got in my car. I drove like somewhere like some somewhat deserted part of Mesa City, threw the needle out, and then drove down and threw whatever I had left out too. I was so upset with myself for that, and then I went back to it. I think a week or two later.
So, did that drive you into like a depression, like knowing that you had done that, or were you okay with it after a bit?
Um, oh, it drove me into depression for a couple of days and that stuff. Um, and then I think I ended up going drinking the next weekend, and I was like, um, you know, maybe being conceited and uh, thought I could handle my own shit, and I was like, why can't I don't hurt. At the time, I was like, I don't hurt anybody. Let me do this.
So okay, so after your first time going through treatment, like did you feel like you were cured a little bit, or were you just like,
Um, I was just kind of going through the motions at first, but towards the end of it, I really started getting some stuff out of it. The the thing I had an issue with was a lot. The majority is faith based,
hmm
and my experience with everybody's uh, God that they talk about
hmm
in those kind of environments, and and in outside support meetings,
yeah,
that's not mine. That's not
yeah,
my God.
it kind of makes you like not believe,
So I have
like,
a hard time to relate. Yeah.
right.
I yeah.
So when did it start getting bad again, where you felt like you had to go back into treatment?
Well, so it was kind of like I had this cyclical uh, addiction where it was like a bad country song. Um,
hmm
I'd get my shit together. I'd be all about recovery. I'd get a job. I started getting my own place. I started getting building back up my possessions, and
hmm
then all of a sudden, I just
Start partying again.
yeah, I would just crap it away. Like what?
Would it start with alcohol and then move slowly into like other shit?
Uh, no, actually, it started with loneliness and walking around where I shouldn't be. Maybe going to a different area where I shouldn't be. Reconnecting with people I knew I should have disconnected with in my recovery.
hmm
Um, that's what it was. Loneliness, man.
I feel like that's
Being
like a hard
alone.
part, like to let go of your friends, like who you really love so much, but you know
Yeah.
that they're
Well,
no good for you.
what it is you're being alone with yourself, which is, uh, you know, it, I don't know. I feel like if every addict would know, when you're in your addiction, your worst enemy is you, and you're stuck there with yourself, with nothing to hide yourself from yourself. You
Right.
know what I mean?
hmm So, okay, so after you started getting back into doing drugs the second time, or after you completed your first treatment, like,
Which time? Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time?
so okay, so you finished your first treatment, and then you're off
Yeah.
and you're doing good, and then you start doing drugs again. What
Sure.
when does it start getting bad again? And is there like a certain situation that made it bad again, where you're like, okay, I have to go back to treatment?
It was the situations were so the situ. So I know you're asking this what situation made me want to go back, but the situations that would start it was either loneliness
hmm
or a relationship that ended.
Right.
And then those are the instigating factors. And then what made me go to treatment is just the just the so feeling alone in the situations where it would drive me to use is
hmm
completely from the alone feeling you feel when um, your use has separated you from everything and everyone you love.
Right.
That's that's what would that's what would open my eyes.
Was there like a point where your family was like, okay, dude, you gotta get it together, otherwise we're not gonna be talking to you?
Uh, yeah, actually, so about 4 years ago, my little sister Chanel
hmm
and my mother, uh, my sister Heather, uh, she loved me from afar. She would check on me every now and then.
hmm
Um, she helped me a few times when I found myself homeless, and then in those times when I found myself homeless, I that was one of those Yahoo movements or Eureka movement moments where I
Right.
was like, this shit isn't working, and so she knew I wasn't using it, and she would even take me in for a bit, and help me get on my feet. Not with money or anything, but give me a safe place to be, to keep out of the shit, and then get myself a job, and get myself a place. You
hmm
know,
Was that
I
hard for
honestly,
you, like mentally? Like,
oh yeah, um, for sure. I mean, uh, being the boy that helped guide my sisters in my in our later school years,
hmm
and then here relying I mean, my little sister Chanel even took me in at one point, relying on my sisters to be there for me. I never wanted that to happen.
Right.
I was supposed to be the strong one.
Yeah, that's intense.
It
I
was
mean,
rough.
uh, do you feel like it maybe like brought you and your sisters and your mom like closer together?
It did the opposite for my little sister and my mom. My sister Heather, yeah, but there'd be times, where it was too much for her and she couldn't see me hurt, so she couldn't talk to me,
Hmm.
and I totally understood. Even at the time going through it, I understood. And I would even tell her like, "Hey, I understand." Like if she wouldn't answer, I said, "Hey, I understand," and I'd let her know I loved her. But uh, man, getting trust back um,
It's hard.
with loved ones
Hmm.
when even I mean I didn't purposely dupe them. I totally thought I wanted recovery.
Hmm.
All those times I went to treatment, maybe not the first time,
Right.
but and then just failing them every time. The hardest one to get back was my little sister Chanel, and and actually through my recovery this time, it's been about trying to think here, but I think um, since well, at the latest, maybe at the beginning of January.
Hmm.
Um, my sisters and I are thick as thieves now,
That's awesome.
like we were when we were kids.
Yeah. So do you feel like how do you feel like their side of it is? Like how do you think it affected you're doing drugs and like becoming like an addict affected your sisters and your mom? Like do they tell you or is it just like something you guys don't talk
Um,
about?
yeah, they,
Yeah, I know it's hard to like talk about. It gets
yeah,
like
they lost their brother.
yeah,
I mean, their brother was gone, but I mean, he was physically around, but he was gone. It was hard for them to see that. It was hard for them um, to keep themselves back, to keep themselves safe from getting too invested. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. And I met your
Yeah,
mom like a couple times and you can tell your
yeah.
mom like loves you
That,
so much and
yeah.
I know you love your mom like very much. So was that was like super hard like not to have
Actually,
trust from your mom?
the mom thing's a little weird. Uh, I mean, she has her faults. I have mine.
Hmm.
Um, we both done some shit, but I think for me, what um a lot sometimes when I would get motivation to want to change things, I would think about how often my mother gets sick, and I thought about never being able to see her again.
Right. And
Yeah,
that would like kind of kick you in the butt to try to get help.
not kick me in the butt. It would uh like take its foot foot and shove me in the right direction.
Right. Okay, so you had gone to rehab like the first couple of times and was there ever a point where you were like, okay, I get it. I'm strong enough. Like, I have all the tools. Like, I'm going to go and succeed.
Oh yeah, the second time I went to treatment, the second time I ever went was at Prairie Ridge.
Very rich.
Yeah, uh, and then the third time I went, the same thing. I was at Prairie Ridge. Fourth time I went into a program with the VA.
Hmm.
Uh, oh wait, did I say the same number like 3 or 4 times?
No, no, you're on track.
Okay.
Hmm.
What changed was the very last time I went. And what happened was I had someone that lived in Des Moines that was from my past had showed up and wanted to see me and talk to me.
Hmm.
And the VA program is called the domiciliary program. It's meant for homeless addicts, homeless veterans that are dealing with PTSD, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and some people knock the VA, but I I owe my life to the VA
Yeah.
and their programs. But uh, the this person showed up to see me. You could it was a so the VA program is a little bit freer than like Prairie Ridge or some of those private ones.
Hmm.
Um, you could have visitors after your classes and that stuff during the week and all the time on the weekend. So I met them outside, and even before they even made it to within 6 feet of me, I felt this feeling come over me. It's like a feeling of dread and it's like a yucky feeling. Like like when you get a bad energy from someone. Like I'm I'm not one of those hocus pocus people, but
Yeah.
I sure felt it, and it was like a warning, like my body was warning me, and I wanted nothing to do with that person. All I wanted was for them to go away.
Right.
And then throughout that treatment, they end up doing this stupid exercise that is meant to do a certain something else, but all it did was bring up triggers for me.
Hmm.
Um, but those triggers, instead of making me want to use, brought up those same feelings. And it was when that started happening, I was like, holy shit. I was like,
Like you're
maybe I'm
getting
done with this.
better.
So I ended up talking to one of the, I don't know if it was a psychologist or psychiatrist. I talked to him about it,
Hmm.
and because I thought maybe I was just losing my mind, I was being an idiot, and she told me, she said to me that she believes it's, I don't know if I'm going to paraphrase, but I might be getting it backwards. But she told me she believes it was, at the time, it was my subconscious realizing my consciousness was done with it, and my subconscious part that was addicted. It was like they were battling, and it was creating that feeling,
Hmm.
which sounds
Okay,
whatever.
so you're starting to get those feelings that make you want to
Yeah.
stay away
Yep.
from those situations.
Yeah. Yep. And then so I started paying attention to stuff that bored the crap out of me
Hmm.
in other treatments, like breathing exercises and stuff like that, and just
Hmm.
simple tactics. Um, and to this day, well, I latched on them, and to this day, I do it. There, I don't get some thoughts will creep into your head, not thoughts wanting to use, but like an old memory will.
Hmm.
And in my past, I know old memories will start to bring up a certain feeling.
Right.
And so I started doing this thing that I thought was dumb as crap. And all I do is I drown my brain out with no's until my mind shuts off that part or that thought. It sounds simple, and it sounded so stupid to me for my whole recovery experience. Like I was like, you guys are dumb. This is stupid. And I started giving everything a chance.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's all that did it, but I think what gave it the chance was just, um, they tell you you have to hit rock bottom, but
Hmm.
nobody knows where the fuck their rock bottom is. You think you hit it, but then you find out you have farther to go.
What do
But
you think that your
um,
rock bottom was?
my rock bottom was knowing that if I didn't do it this time, I wouldn't even have my sister Heather, who was my biggest supporter,
Hmm.
and knowing that um, I was gonna, um, yeah, lose everybody in my life, and I basically, I believe that if I were to ever go back out, I would be so embarrassed to come back. I would kill myself with it.
I'm assuming, like, before you got sober this last time, that things must have been like really bad for you to like have to go back into
Oh,
treatment for
actually,
this last time.
they weren't like extremely bad. So what? So the first time I got out of that VA, the first time I went to the VA one,
Hmm.
um, it was a few months after that. I was doing good. I ended up networking with a veteran buddy, and went and he asked me if I wanted to come work with him. So they flew me out, picked me up in Colorado. I went with them down to Texas to do help on a remodel of a White House Black Market
Hmm.
store in the Katyville Mall. And the guys running it were wishes. They didn't pay us, so there was disappointment there. We went out to Albuquerque.
Hmm.
Some more stuff fell through, and just kept getting disappointed, and got to the point where I got a job working the warehouse for the Slurpee slushy company just to get to get enough money to come back to Iowa.
Right.
And I was 3 or 4 days short of being a year sober at that time. And I got into town. I took a bus back and was going to stay at my sister's and do everything to stay sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out with an old work friend. Decided to not go home when he was. Reconnected with some girl from the past, and I relapsed. And I did it for about a week, or maybe not a week, maybe like 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Then reached out to an old high school friend. She came and grabbed me up, put me somewhere safe, and then I went to move in with an old friend who lived in Latimer, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Come here, man. I got you." I went there not knowing, thinking this was the same man who I had been friends with forever.
Right.
I show up there, didn't realize he was a horrible alcoholic with a horrible Xanax addiction. And I don't know if you've been around anybody that has a Xanax addiction. They are a piece of shit. Like, you think a heroin addict or a meth addict is bad? Holy crap. Try hanging out with a piece of shit asshole Xanax addict.
Damn.
And so it started wearing on me. So I was stuck in Latimer. So I started reaching out to old friends again. I mean, after that short-lived relapse, I started reaching out because I was just depressed. And
yeah, because drugs make you feel like really lonely, right? When you're
I was lonely at the time, especially being in that little tiny ass like town of like, I don't know, I want to say there was like 100 people there.
Mm-hmm.
But I started reaching out. I wanted to get out of that town so bad. There's one time I walked to Mason. I got halfway there, and a trooper picked me up and took me to the spot where I was going to use, because I told him I was going to my sister's.
Uh-huh.
And it was this last time. It was the shortest relapse I ever had. Usually I'll go for a while, but this was about 3 months. So when you put yourself in a situation of being a homeless vet, you get assigned kind of like a veteran social worker.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a facilitator for you. And I called her up crying and I said, I can't do this again. And within 2 days, she got me back in, and everything changed from there. The last time I realized my need and how much I needed this to work,
Mm-hmm.
it's a 2-month program. I extended for 4 months, and then when I got out, I had the ability to go get a home, have the VA pay for my rent, and I chose to go to a sober living house on my own. I was
Mm-hmm.
the only one who was not court ordered, and I was there for 2 months. So I ended up doing 6 months of forced clean living, just for any added benefit to my long-term recovery. The first time ever, I was willing to do anything and everything to make it happen.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
So, what was that? What's the feeling like after you've been through all this crap and like basically like disappointed everyone around you and you've lost a lot of really close friends and you're in rehab and you have your like aha moment and you're like, I can do this.
My actions have helped mend a lot of things, a lot of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have some of the old ones back, and maybe that's for a reason. Maybe I don't need those.
Right.
I mean, you and I haven't really talked in years, and
But we've
here
always
we
been
are.
friendly when we do talk.
Oh yeah, well, I'm amazing, but yeah.
You are.
But yeah,
I'm so happy for you. Like, I
but
really am.
yeah, I'm happy for you too.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you meet people and you just like, you take whatever you need from them, whether it be good things or bad things, and you learn and it kind of molds you. And
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that you have to be friends forever, and it doesn't mean that you're enemies.
you know, sometimes you get asked the question, if you could, would you take all that back?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would. I don't think I would be. I don't think I would have the love I have for people. I don't think I would have the empathy. I think I would have the humbleness that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yes, there are days where I'm a mega bitch, but I'm definitely not who I was before.
Right. So, what was that feeling like after you had your like aha moment and you left treatment for the last time? Like, what's that feeling like?
Um, uh, well, it's great, but you're in a protected environment.
Hmm.
Um, it was not easy, man. When I got out, it was a struggle, and not the addiction. That wasn't the struggle. Or or not even jonesing for anything was not the struggle. It was the self doubt, and not about using this the self doubt of me succeeding as a human being.
Hmm.
Um, the self doubt that would I would I find a job that I was happy with, something that I could make myself be happy with. Because I know if I'm not happy with something for a certain amount of time, that addiction is going to creep back in slowly and surely.
Right.
And so the struggle was knowing that I needed to find something, I needed to find my way with something, do what I could. I was working as a Target tech person. Oh man, they make shit money in Cedar Rapids,
Hmm.
and I was only making like $10 an hour, and I got offered a job working this forklift for I can't remember who, but it was like $18 an hour, and I turned it down because when I did the forklift test,
Hmm.
I had the feeling that I was going to hate every minute of that job because they're using these new joystick forklifts,
Hmm.
and I'm old school. I know the sit down ones, and I'm not going to go to a job and hate it and not and feel less than and.
Be unhappy.
So I turned to me, happiness was more than that,
Yeah.
was worth more to me than that. And I kept that Target Tech job.
That's yeah. That's
It was
that's
just,
character right there, bro.
yeah, it's a lot of figuring yourself out and figuring out what makes, well, as simple as it sounds, it's not that simple, but figuring out what drives you. Everything they try to preach to you when you first go to treatment, like actually, oh yeah, they were right long ago. Now, not everybody latches onto that or even realizes what they're trying to do, but
Right. So okay. So what are you doing right now?
me,
Yeah. Like your
I am
job
sit.
and you. I know
Oh,
you're
I was gonna
like.
say, well, no, I actually was gonna say I'm sitting in my office in the upstairs of the house I live in,
Hmm.
next to my bedroom. I have an office. I oversee solar farm builds.
Hmm. And I'm
I
assuming you're making
oversee
very good
solar farm.
money.
Yes,
Yeah, we
I
don't.
am.
You don't have to like say the amount or anything, but
Yeah,
you're
no,
engaged
you're fine.
now.
Yeah, I'm engaged. We're planning on eloping in Vegas,
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
that'll be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would love to
yeah.
come to that.
She's actually downstairs waiting on steaks to be cooked with my roommates. I live with actually. So remember I told you about the veteran that I networked with. That was my friend.
Hmm.
I met him I met him when I went to actually we were in Prairie Ridge together for the first time. He's my best friend now. I We rent this big nice house across. You walk out the front door and you see a river running through the town. Across the street is a river. We I split it with him and his lady. It's it's amazing. I wouldn't. It, I have so many things to be thankful for.
Yeah, are you excited to get married? Or are you nervous?
To be honest, I'm ready to get married today, so we
Yeah.
have to wait. I'm still painting on the rings and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I still have this kind of character defect. I need to hurry up and get over that other ring on her finger because otherwise she's gonna get away.
Yeah, I feel you. So,
I'm,
what is your favorite part about the person that you are today?
my favorite part,
Hmm.
um, that I'm not ashamed of myself. I'm not ashamed to be me anymore.
That's amazing. Like, where
Yeah.
do you think that comes from? Like, just through being like through hell and back? Like, you're just finally content on being
Um.
who you are?
Oh, well, just being. I. God, this is gonna sound lame. Uh, Loving your defects,
Hmm.
being okay with them, being comfortable in your own skin, not giving a shit what anybody else thinks of you when it's very highly unlikely that anyone even gives a shit anything about you when you're out in public. So
Hmm.
you know how we kind of get stuck in that oh my God, what do
It's
they think?
like a high school
Can they see
mentality.
my belly sticking this out? Can they see my belly sticking out this much? Do they notice my bald head? And then I'm like, wait, everybody notices your fucking bald head. Shut the fuck up, Michael. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of like high
so
school,
I
right?
said,
And you have to kind of like grow
yeah,
out of that.
except you're doing high school in your own head.
Yeah, exactly. If you have advice for anyone that was in the situations that you were in, like what's your advice
Yeah,
for them? Even the ones that have been through treatment like multiple times and they don't believe in what they're selling.
to be honest, I believe the whole treatment industry. Uh, I think they're just trying to wing it, man. There is nothing that really stuck out to me. I had to ruin myself. I had to ruin my life, what was around me.
Hmm.
I had to put myself in that situation so much, and I got to the point where I got so tired of it that I had to have the not only the will but the foresight to be aware that it is all me doing this.
Hmm.
Um, I I'm not saying treatment is, none of them are bad or anything,
Right.
but when they try to tell you there's a certain way to get sober, no, there's not.
Yeah.
Um, each each certain individual is as different from the other as everybody who is an addict.
Do you think that there's like a blame that like addicts like blame other people for the situations that they're in? And is that like a reason why they
Oh,
can't get over it?
oh, well, yeah. Though, yeah, those are the addicts that will never get sober.
Addicts that can't just like face that they have
I
a
believe
reason.
those are the addicts that they try to find a reason to use because they want to use.
Hmm. Like a 45-year-old person like complaining about their childhood and that's why they're doing drugs. Like they're never gonna. There's never hope for them. Do you think?
But yeah, because you're acknowledging the fact that you have a driving force that might have put you more susceptible to go that route, but you're
Hmm.
not doing anything about it.
Right.
You're actually using it to enable your own self.
Right.
I don't. This wasn't a question of yours, but I do want to throw in this bit of information.
Yeah. Anything you
So
want.
in this recovery, the last time I went to treatment, so the night before I went to the VA down the Silvery treatment, but the last time I went, the night
Hmm.
before, my stepdad Dave passed away from a heart attack. My mother's husband,
Hmm.
and I was a little bit of a wreck. At the time, my mother wasn't talking to me, and my little sister obviously wasn't. And I had reached out to Heather, uh, and she said, "Michael, what would Dave had wanted?" And I said, "He would have wanted me to stay sober." And I take solace in knowing the fact that I was sober off of for 4 days before he passed, and um, and so there is that. A year later, in this sobriety, I went to South Dakota this last October,
Hmm.
and I watched my father wither away and die from ALS, and I buried him. The day I got back from burying my father, my little sister Chanel called me and told me my Miller dad died of COVID.
Oh my God.
About a month ago, I got genetic testing results back. I had a genetic counselor tell me that they found ALS in my genes,
Oh my God.
25 copies in one, two in the other. Anything over 31, and it's a sure thing.
Hmm.
I had a neurology appointment last week. They found no signs of it. All of this stuff has happened in this sobriety. It has not been fun,
But you're
but
still sober.
not once did I want to use at all. Not even a fleeting thought.
That's strength, dude. That's like
That
growth.
that's crazy.
It's
But yeah,
amazing.
I mean, who loses three father figures in a 2 year span or a year and a half span? What the hell?
Did that make you want to use at any point, or were you just like
No, no,
using
not at
those
all.
experiences as strength?
I actually, when Dave passed, I was like, I want to know that he passed, still knowing that I was sober, because I don't think my mom had the heart to tell him that I was slipping up again.
Hmm.
Um, and because he used to always tell me, you're so smart, you're wasting your talents, you're meant for so much more. And,
Right.
and then my father. uh, my biological father finally got to see me coming into my own.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to use
Well,
this experience to be the best man you can be. And I think that's amazing. What would your legacy so far be?
my legacy.
Yeah. Like what's the stamp on the world that you've left so far? Like who are you as a person?
I think I bring happiness to those around me
Yeah, you're funny.
through laughter and joy.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, spreading that kind of goodwill.